I'm Stacey Hansen, co-host of Maximize Living. There seems to be no shortage of commercials telling us about drugs, but there certainly seems to be a shortage on natural health care news to help you build your body's health naturally. Taking care of your structure, how you move, what you put into your body, and how you think matter immensely in building your best health. Join Dr. Pat and I as we cover natural health care news. That's coming up next. Welcome back to Maximize Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen. We're talking natural health care news today with lots of great new information for you. I'll start here, Dr. Pat, if you don't mind.
Please do.
I was reading Cooking Light magazine, which I really enjoy. I get a lot of recipes out of there. So I do have an article from there too about how to eat to beat inflammation. We talk about inflammation, how that can really just be long-term damage to your body, can cause a lot of chronic conditions. So you want to avoid that. So anti-inflammatory foods are, here's 10 of them. They mentioned cherries specifically, which I hadn't known. So it says here that cherries may even offer pain relief comparable to ibuprofen. Isn't that interesting? Have you tried that?
Yes, there's a tart cherry juice you can buy that has real powerful anti-inflammatory properties, yeah.
So that's really interesting to try too. So that's great information. And then I'm going to come back to those omega-3s again with salmon. We talk about omega-3s all the time, but salmon's a great one.
It's one of the biggest deficiencies out there.
So we definitely want to hit that. They say to aim to eat fish or sea vegetables like algae several times a week. So I'm sure most people aren't doing that enough. So add that in. Broccoli we talk about a lot too, cruciferous vegetables in general. Great anti-inflammatory. Talks about try to have at least 5 weekly servings of these. So those cruciferous ones are broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, mustard greens, watercress, and kohlrabi.
Maybe you could do it all in one day.
Yeah, but that might be a bit much, a bit of a hit. Hopefully I got them all. Mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, they say also oyster mushrooms, but eat them raw or cook at low temperatures to have the most impact, which is something to be aware of. Extra virgin olive oil we talk about a lot too. That's another great anti-inflammatory. Avocado, your favorite, Dr. Pat is on
Avocado a day.
Keeps the doctor away. Or the apple. Maybe the avocado more than the apple, right?
Have them both.
Have them both?
Yeah.
Have them together?
Why have to choose?
Exactly, no reason to choose. Turmeric too, we've been talking about a lot lately. Curry powder, they said, is also a good source. Research varies on how much you need of the turmeric, but they say aim to cook with it several times a week if you can. And you said that you just take it in kind of like
I take it in a powdered form. A company called Gaia has a powdered form. I just put a tablespoon into water. It's got pepperine in it already, so it's really anti-inflammatory.
Could you take right off the spice rack at the grocery store, and would it be could you do that?
Yeah.
So try it today if it's in your spice rack. Tomatoes are also great. Spinach and actually all leafy greens. And then number 10 is strawberries. They said, in fact, all strawberries. A lot of antioxidants to sweep up those free radicals.
They all sound awesome, don't they? And it's funny how people get used to eating the white diet, all the flours and potatoes and breads and crackers. And that doesn't even sound appetizing anymore. Once you get the taste for the veggies, that's what you want to eat.
Yep. Eat the rainbow, isn't that what they say?
Yep.
So try to eat all your colors.
I've got one here on global pollution is the world's biggest killer and a threat to the survival of mankind.
Wow, now that's heavy. We
that
switched
is heavy.
Quickly there, didn't we?
But it's published in a medical journal, The Lancet, just recently.
Wow.
And they said that this research with the United Nations, European Union and the United States said that this is the #1 killer. 24.5% of all deaths in India are related to pollution.
Wow.
China is second with 19.5% related to pollution. The United States has 5.7% of deaths related to pollution.
So what kind of deaths are they talking about? Like lung cancer from breathing that in, or do they
all
specify?
all forms of illness.
Wow.
Gastrointestinal disease, parasitic infections, contaminated sewage, workplace pollution, carcinogens, secondhand smoke, coal-related disorders. So it's quite a sobering study to see that pollution really matters.
That's pretty heavy, something definitely that we need to work on and stay green. Well, stay with us. We have more right after this. Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv. Welcome back to Maximize Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen, Natural Healthcare News today. And I've got another one from Cooking Light. I was kind of on a reading binge there, but this is a good one. I'm talking about high intensity interval training, or HIIT, H-I-I-T, which if you've seen the show, we've done some of these exercises for you, so you definitely want to check that out on YouTube if you missed it. But it's great because you can get a big workout into a short amount of time. Like generally we were doing about 20 minutes, where you do a quick burst, a really hard work, and then you rest, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, the research continues to show that that's really, really effective. It turns your body, it says here in the article, into a calorie-burning machine. I like the analogy they made here. They liken it to driving a car. Stop-and-go driving in traffic burns more fuel than steady highway driving, and it's the same thing with burning calories in your body.
That's a great analogy.
Isn't that a great analogy?
Yeah.
So it makes sense then, and it's especially effective at reducing belly fat, and that belly fat's really, really dangerous. A lot of
internal organ fat is really hard cardiovascular-wise.
So that's really, really hard on you. So you want to do your talk test is another thing they say. So if you know that you're doing it hard enough, you shouldn't be able to carry on a conversation. So if you can only get out a word or two, you're probably doing okay. You're probably going, so on a scale of 1 to 10, you want to be at like 8, 9, 10, working as hard as you can to get the most out of this. But they found here in the research, they quote that a 10-minute workout with 60 total seconds of intervals has benefits comparable to a traditional 50-minute moderate intensity workout. So it's a huge time saver, and it seems to work better.
Yeah, you can have your life to do other things too besides workout. Sometimes people don't do a workout because they just take too long.
Yeah,
they don't want to do it.
You just don't have the time.
So if you can get it down to 12, 15, 20 minutes, I think that's just the
good news all
good
around.
News. Well, I've got some interesting news here. This is from organics.com. It's how many times should you chew your food before swallowing?
Well, I'm not sure that I've counted. Maybe I should start.
Yeah, probably. I don't know if many people do. Well, my mom always told me chew 32 times.
Was she right?
Well, she was low, actually.
Really?
A Chinese study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition recently reported that a person needs to chew food at least 40 times per bite.
At least 40 times?
Yes. So it's liquefied. You know, keep in mind that digestion starts in the mouth. And there's carbohydrate, early protein digestion, carbohydrate digestion, and fat digestion happening in the mouth. So the more it's broken down, the easier it is for the stomach.
Easier it would be,
and
sure.
this article talks about how it really interferes with digestion if you don't chew your food enough. So too many people do chomp, chomp, swallow with the water, and they wash it down, and they're creating digestive problems. So don't drink lots of water with a meal or right away after was a tip. Don't have a cup of coffee right after a meal. It slows digestion, and it's a diuretic.
So
or actually, it speeds up digestion, but it's a diuretic.
Oh, okay. Are they seeing some heartburn, I suppose, with a chomp water?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't eat a lot of fruit or processed sweets directly after a meal because that'll interfere with protein digestion.
Okay. So
don't exercise strenuously right after eating a big meal.
Okay.
That one's kind of a no-brainer, like don't go swimming.
Yeah, brings all that stuff up, yeah.
Don't take a hot shower or bath right after eating.
Really? Why's that?
Well, it's going to pull the blood away from your digestive system.
Oh, wow.
Too much.
Who knew?
Don't go to sleep right after eating.
Yeah.
Some people get home from work and they eat until they go to bed.
Yeah.
So it can really cause restless sleep.
And weird dreams, too.
Do eat gut-friendly fermented foods with every meal. Every meal.
Okay.
Do have veggies every meal. Do take a leisurely stroll, because if you just sit after you eat, you don't digest as well.
Okay.
Do use probiotics and digestive enzymes.
Now, you said to do that with every meal, the probiotics and that kind of thing. So that's not overkill, because I'd always kind of tried to keep it to like once a day, but you can spread that out.
Eat the probiotic foods. If you want to supplement, I'd maybe do that once a day.
Do that once a day.
But I would make sure you got the probiotic foods daily.
So you can
or with every meal. It's a good idea, especially if you want to heal your gut.
So you could do the kefir and then the kimchi and then
sauerkraut,
miso,
and
something every meal. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And slow down when you eat. I'll tell you, that's a challenge for a lot of us. We watch a TV show with a lot of action. Our jaw's doing a lot of action too, I think.
Yeah.
It's too fast for good digestion.
Popcorn disappears.
Yeah, so massive amounts.
Yeah, suddenly it's gone. We'll stay with us. We have more natural health care news right after this. Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv. Welcome back to Maximize Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen, talking natural health care news today. Lots of good information so far. So excited to tell you this one because it's so different than everything we've thought before about stretching. This is from U.S. News. So it says here, most of what we used to know or think we knew about stretching has been proven wrong, or is at least seriously called into question. So usually you'd always heard to stretch before and after a workout, but now they're saying that's not the case. It's actually been shown to decrease your performance, decrease some of the blood flow. So they recommend don't stretch to warm up. Just do some simple, easy, like aerobic type moves, or that'll kind of mimic what you're going to do. And don't stretch immediately after your workout. You want to kind of do some slow movements again. You want to kind of cool down a little bit, more of a cool down than a stretch. And if you want to do a stretch, you want to do that later, because it actually decreases the flow of blood to the muscle, prevents oxygen from reaching your muscles, and all those exercise byproducts from escaping. So it goes against everything you thought you knew about stretching.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
So you can still stretch, but you don't want to do it right before or right after exercising.
Awesome. Well, I've got a proclamation from Governor Walker claiming October is Chiropractic Health Month.
Oh, we missed it. Happy belated Chiropractic Health Month, Dr. Pat.
And it states, whereas according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as many as 1 in 4 patients who receive prescription opioids long-term for non-cancer pain in primary care settings struggle with addiction. 1 in 4.
Wow, a quarter.
Whereas every day more than 1,000 people are treated in emergency rooms for misusing opioids. And it says, whereas the American College of Physicians, ACP, in 2017 released updated low back treatment guidelines that promote the use of non-invasive and non-drug approaches as a first line of defense against back pain before the use of medications and surgery.
Wow.
And and that included chiropractic.
So that's great news for you.
We know in our offices how effective it is, and so do the patients, but as a general society, there's still drawbacks for people understanding what we do because we're so used to the medication approach.
Yeah, it's good to have that support and that backing.
So we're seeing the studies come out more and more just supporting that we're a safe way of taking care of low back pain without addictive drugs or surgery.
So that's great. So happy belated Chiropractic Month to you, Dr. Pat, and to all of you out there. This article here is from Time Magazine, and it's talking about kids and smartphones, and specifically how smartphones and even more specifically some of the social media apps are really affecting kids depression-wise. We've talked about how it affects people in general, kind of with depression and anxiety and some of those things before, but it's really disturbing with kids and teens especially because, as you know, a lot of those areas in your brain aren't quite developed yet. They can become addicted to things more easily, and the impulse control, and then also just things like empathy and understanding other people's feelings haven't quite developed yet too. So then you can start to see some of that bullying. And there was one girl in this article here too, and she said it was harder on her because she didn't understand why she was feeling depressed. She was 16, I think, at the time, or something around there. So they recommend that you're watching the kids with the smartphones. You know, try to keep the devices out of their bedrooms. Kind of know what they're into, how long they're on it. And then you have a device contract that says, so maybe make a family rule. There's no devices at the dinner table, and that goes for you too as the parent, because one of the bullet points here is modeling healthy device behavior. So you're going to set these rules and you're going to enforce this. Make sure you're doing it, because teens especially, I think, are going to be watching and say, you know, this isn't fair. You know, why?
Could you imagine picking up your kids from school and you're on the phone the whole time? You know, make that time. Most important thing is you just saw you got your kids. You know, spend time with them.
So definitely want to watch those. And it said if you're really concerned about it, consider just getting an old school flip phone that's a dumb phone.
Maybe they'll be cool again.
Yeah, you know, everything else is coming back from like the 80s and 90s, so why not that? So stay with us, we'll have more right after this. Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv. Welcome back to Maximize Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen. Natural health care news is the topic of the day. Lots of great information so far. I've learned a lot. Kind of wanted to jump to you, Dr. Pat, because you've been giving me bits and pieces of this article, but I want to hear the whole thing. It's about shrimp, and you're implying I'm never going to want to eat it again.
Well, let's just talk facts. This is an article from drax.com. He talks about 7 reasons to avoid shrimp. First off, shrimp is listed here as the most commonly consumed seafood in the United States and the most highly traded seafood in the world. But its high demand has led to many environmental and human rights abuses in fishing, farming, and processing. 25% of the seafood consumption in the United States is shrimp, and the average American eats 4 pounds of shrimp per year. And we consider it a healthy form of protein. It's low in calories, and that's true for fresh shrimp, but farmed shrimp is unhealthy and often toxic, making it the worst seafood that you shouldn't eat, followed by tilapia and catfish.
Really? Oh,
and there were 7 reasons. 80% of the shrimp we eat, number 1, is imported, and we just don't know from where. Ecuador, Indonesia, China, Mexico, or Vietnam. We don't know from where, and their labeling requirements aren't the same. Half the seafood shrimp is displayed in a medley, and that doesn't require labeling for where it's from.
Or if it's farmed, as you said, that wasn't good. Oh.
And it's farmed under very poor conditions. It says natural, traditional shrimp yields about 445 pounds per acre of shrimp. In the farmed shrimp, the operators stock it so heavily that they get 89,000 pounds of shrimp per acre.
Whoa, what was the first number?
445.
To 89,000? So they're just like stacked, like a foot high.
In order to solve the problem, shrimp farmers in Asia and South America and Central America use large quantities of antibiotics, disinfectants, and pesticides that are illegal to use in the U.S. shrimp farms.
Oh, and they're ingesting that, and therefore we are too. Interesting.
And only 2% of the seafood that's imported in the United States is inspected.
Only 2% is inspected, so you don't really know what you're eating then.
Shrimp is commonly misrepresented. The farmed shrimp is often white leg shrimp, but it's sold as wild shrimp or Gulf shrimp.
They can do that because of the labeling requirements aren't the same?
That's what's happening. So 30 to 40% in the different locations, shrimp is actually mislabeled. You're not sure what you're getting. And then we've got more. There's more.
Oh my gosh. As if that wasn't bad enough.
Imported shrimp contain antibiotics, drugs, and illegal chemicals. Dioxins are present, and a number of antibiotics. A 2015 study published in the Journal of Hazardous Materials found the presence of 47 antibiotics in U.S. purchased shrimp.
Wow, that's a lot of antibiotics, again, just that you're ingesting.
Number 5, shrimp farming is destroying the earth. There's approximately 2.5 to 3.75 million acres of coastal lowlands used for shrimp ponds. But because of the heavy pesticide and antibiotic use, the average shrimp farm only lasts 7 years before the level of pollution and pathogens makes the pond non-productive.
So if it within just a few years, it's something that can't even be used for shrimp anymore, like I would imagine non-productive means they can't survive. So what does that tell you about if you're eating from that last batch?
Yeah, exactly.
How good could it be?
And shrimp contains xenoestrogens. Those are compounds that are estrogen-like, and they increase the risk of breast cancer in women and reduce sperm counts in men. And it's linked to unethical labor practices, lastly. And so there's a lot on that where the slave labor is going on in these foreign countries. So I used to eat shrimp. I eat less now. I think I may not have much help. And it's often talked of as being a bottom feeder. So it's not eating the best quality of food. And so it's thought of, even though it may taste good, it's probably higher in toxins than everything else.
Because you are what you eat and what they ate. And
sorry about that. I
and
feel
the
bad
ethical
for bringing that
practices
up.
too. And we talked about how the Earth's getting destroyed by pollution, and this is contributing to that too, potentially. So definitely something to watch out for. Well, stay with us. There's more right after this. Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv.
Thanks for watching our show, Natural Healthcare News. Hopefully you've learned how a better lifestyle directly leads to better health. One of the best health decisions you can make is to get a chiropractic checkup. A checkup will determine if your nervous system that runs and regulates everything in your body has any interference and is limiting your health potential. You can't really know if you have nerve interference without being checked by a chiropractor. Give our office a call at 608-833-1282 for a checkup today. For Maximize Living, I'm Dr. Patrick Andersen. Until next time, live well and God bless.